Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be looking at sketching sideways parabolas. So the only difference between our typical parabola and our sideways parabola is our formulas here. So starting off, our normal parabola is given the formula y is equal to x squared. If we were to turn it sideways, this now becomes y squared is equal to x. Okay, so that's the only difference between our basic parabola. So what we've done in the past, we've looked at parabolas that are in turning point form. So for our typical parabola, when it's in turning point form, that's given by our equation y is equal to a x take h squared plus k. So when we have it in this form, straight away we know our turning point is going to be at positive h, positive k. We would then use our intercepts and we would mark those on our graph, and then we would sketch our typical parabola. So we've done this quite a few times now with our parabolas. With our sideways parabolas, the difference in the turning point formula, it's pretty similar, but what we're going to do, we're going to move this k over to the other side. So now we have y take k squared is equal to a, and we're going to not square this, so this is just going to become x take h. So that's the difference in the two formulas. So when we have it in this form, our turning point is going to be at positive h, positive k. And then again, we go ahead, we find our intercepts, put those points in our graph, and we use that information to sketch our parabola. So let's have a look at an example. So what I'm going to do first, I'm actually just going to write the turning point formula of our sideways parabola. So remember, that's going to be y take k squared is equal to a x take h, and we have our turning point which is going to be at positive hk. So looking at this equation here, we have y take 1, so therefore k must be equal to 1, and we have x plus 2, so we have h is equal to negative 2. So straight away I know that the turning point of my sideways parabola is going to be at negative 2, 1. Next thing I'm going to do, going to go ahead, going to find my intercepts. So my x-intercept is going to be when y is equal to 0. So 0 in here, we have negative 1 squared is equal to 8x plus 2. So we have 1 is equal to 8x plus 16. And we're going to have negative 15 is equal to 8x, and so negative 15 over 8 is equal to x. So that is going to be my x-intercept. So at negative 15 over 8, 0. All right, let's go ahead now find our y-intercept. So y-intercept is when we have x is equal to 0. So in this case, this value here is going to be equal to 0. So y take 1 squared is equal to 8 times 2. So y take 1 squared is equal to 16. Y take 1 is going to be equal to the square root of 16, so positive or negative 4. So here I can see I'm going to have two intercepts. So the first one, moving this 1 over, we have positive 1 plus or minus 4. So we have 1 at 1 plus 4, which is going to be 5, or we have 1 at 1 minus 4, which is going to be negative 3. So we have 0 and 5, and we have 0 and negative 3. Okay, so we've got our turning point, we've got our x-intercept, and we've got our two y-intercepts. So that's all the information that we're going to need to draw our equation, our parabola now. So let's jump in, let's put our turning point in first. So that's going to be at negative 2, 1, so just here. The x-intercept at negative 15 over 8, or negative 1.875, so that's going to be very rough about here. We've got our first y-intercept at 0, 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so this one here. And then we have our other intercept at 0, negative 3, so just here. So coming from my turning point, I'm going to use my dotted line here. So we've got our top arm, and then, going in and drawing our bottom arm. So when you draw this, I would suggest first drawing it in with the dotted line, and then once you've got the dotted line, to go over it with a solid line to make it nice and neat. All right, so let's jump in. Let's do another example. Okay, so this is not exactly written in the form that I want it to be written in. So remember when we have turning point form, that's going to be y take k squared is equal to a x take h. Okay, so what I need to do then is I need to factorize this here. Straight away, looking at this, I can see that k is equal to 0. So let's just write that in. So k is equal to 0. So what I can see here, I want to have a positive value of x, because this x here, I want it to be positive. So I'm going to actually factor out -3. Okay, so let's write this. Y take 0 squared is going to be equal to -3. So factoring that out, I now get this is going to become -2, and this is going to become positive x. So I'm going to rewrite that as x take 2. All right, now that is so easy to see where the turning point of our formula is going to be. So turning point of our formula is going to be here. So this is going to be h is equal to 2. So we have our turning point at 2 and 0. Then let's go ahead, let's find our x and y intercepts. So x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. When y is equal to 0, we have 0 is equal to 6 take 3x. And so x is equal to a half. Okay, so we've got our first intercept here. Then let's do our y-intercepts. So y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So we have y squared is equal to 6 take 0. And so y is going to be equal to the positive or negative square root of 6. So we've got 1 at 0 positive root 6, and we're going to have 1 at 0 negative root 6. So let's go ahead and let's draw in our parabola. Sorry guys, I'm just going through and I just realized I've made a mistake here. So this should actually be equal to 2, 0. So if you picked up on that earlier, then well done. Okay, so let's try that again now, shall we? Because I just went to draw and it wasn't making sense. So I've got my turning point at 2, 0. I've got my x-intercept at 2, 0 as well. And that makes sense. That looks right to me. So then we've got our y-intercepts. Our y-intercept is going to be at 0 root 6 and 0 negative root 6. So that is going to be at 0 about 2.45 or about 2.5. And then we're going to have about 0 and about negative 2.5. So let's pop those y-intercepts in now. So 2.5 roughly, we're going to have one going through here. And we're going to have one roughly, and we're going to have one roughly going through here. So drawing my sideways parabola now, he's going to look something like this. Okay, so to summarize, drawing our parabolas, very similar to how we would typically draw our parabolas. So we need to, first of all, find the turning point and put the formula into turning point form if it's not already. Then we need to find our x and y intercepts. We need to decide whether it's facing left or facing right, depending on this dilation factor at the front. And then we need to sketch in our points. And really what I should have been doing as well is I should make sure that I'm labeling these points as I'm sketching them on my graph. So this is 0 and negative 2.45 here. All right, guys, that's all for today. I'll see you in the next one.